Out of all the places that you've been, what was like your favorite one to go to?
What, like event, like maker
Yeah.
event?
Yeah.
Maker camp for sure. Maker
Maker
camp,
camp.
100%.
Yeah,
Nice.
that segues into my question is I want to know about that. Like I'm planning to go up there
Oh,
this year and rub elbows with y'all northerners. So um, you've been going since the first time it was conceived. So can you tell us about it and tell our listeners, what to expect or what, why go
Why
to that? Why Maker Camp?
So Maker Camp is it's like I've heard it described as like Burning Man, but for makers. So it is in a field at a like a campground resort. It's got like hotel rooms and campgrounds and stuff. And you go there, and they have tents set up all over the place with all different disciplines, whether it's blacksmithing, woodworking, printmaking, leatherworking, pottery, glass blowing, welding, you name it, they have it, right? Um, and you get to go around, and a lot of it is, I'd say 99% of it is hands on, right? So you get to go in and try everything. There's like making takes, and like you go in there and you make something, and then you get to take it home. It's just a fun event. A lot of people go. It's like 3 or 4 days long, depending on when you show up. There's like a Thursday night party on Thursday. Then it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of Columbus Day weekend every year, and it's a fantastic event. And then there's nightlife at the end, like there's bands or karaoke or something that night, and they have a big campfire there, and people are just hanging out, having a good time. But you can learn a lot. Like there's classes you could take, and you can learn how to power carve or learn how to weld and try all the different disciplines and maybe figure out how it's going to work in your workflow, like to add a new discipline. It's a good place to go and try everything out. So I highly recommend it. And then during the winter, they do intensive classes where you can go up and you can take, like I just got done with a leatherworking class with those guys, which was 3 days of just working with all the different stuff to make a pair of sneakers. And then we made wallets and a bunch of other stuff. So they do intensives like throughout the year.
I saw your shoes. They turned out really cool.
Yeah, they were fun to make too. It's a wild time. I've been to some other events, and it's like have you ever been to like the woodworking shows or some of those other ones? And they're just like, here's products that we have to sell you. And there are things that you can buy at Maker Camp. Most of it is more of a hands-on skill share type event. So it's awesome. Yeah, fun.
So,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the segue into that is like, how was it all born? Who was at the beginning of this? What kicked it off? Like, how did it all, like, there's a bunch of things like even the challenges and stuff. Who's the catalyst for all this stuff, and what kicked it all off?
So there's a gentleman, Austin Handel. He is one of the family members who owns the resort. There's a couple groups of family members, and they do events all year, but he is a blacksmith and a knife maker. And he was like, oh, I always wanted to do an event where I could get all my idols to come in, all the people he looked up to online, to just come here and do a hammer in. And lo and behold, one day he met Jimmy DeResta and found out he lived down the street. So they became fast friends. And then through that, they came up with doing a bigger event, and they came up with Maker Camp. So he did it. And then he had Jimmy help him out with promotion for the first year, and it took off from there. And now it's an animal. It's awesome.
Seems like it's I think it's pretty cool versus other conferences that are out there, is being able to go put your hands and actually do things. I think it's and just being outside, and
Yeah,
I can't, to be able to go see that part of the area and be out there and actually see trees, because down here in Texas we don't have trees. So I just got to be prepared to take a lot of winter clothing, because we're not used to that cold stuff.
They're going to have all this cool stuff to do, and Joey just going to be walking around looking at the trees.
Be freezing in the corner.
Joey's going to become a tree hugger for the weekend.
I'm telling you. You can even saw up your own lumber there. Like they have a chainsaw mill that they run. You can get behind the chainsaw.
Really?
Ronders runs that. Yeah, yeah.
That
Now
would be so
Matt's
cool.
gonna-
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because they have a y'all actually do during these winter months. They usually build a structure during Maker Camp, right? So y'all call it like the timbering or
Timber Inn.
Timber
Yeah.
Inn?
So that is a play on a hammer inn. So a hammer inn is where a group of blacksmiths get together and they just work in the forge and they make things. It's called a hammer inn. So Austin reached out to Justin Dietrich, and he's a big timber framer, and they do what's called the timber inn during the summer. So everyone goes up there and you buy a ticket and you go up there and you get the weekend like hotel room and meals are paid for and everything. And you go up there and you cut all the lumber for all the joinery on whatever structure they're going to build. One year was a pavilion. One year was like a bridge over a pond they have there. One year was like a barbecue pavilion is what we just built this past year. We go up. If you take the class, then you go up, you'll get to learn how to do it, and you cut up all the lumber. And then at Maker Camp, they erect whatever the structure is during the Maker Camp. So anyone who's at Maker Camp can get a taste of the timber framing, like during the event if they want. So it's fun.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Bearpaw would like to know if tickets are on sale yet.
I believe they are, yeah. If you go to the Catskill Mountain Makercamp.com, I would Google that because I may be wrong on that one, but it's kind of a long, whatchamacallit, or at the Maker Camp on Instagram, and then you follow their link tree, and it'll bring you to Eventbrite, and you can buy, I think you can buy the Silver Pass tickets now.
So people that are going to listen to this, if they're interested in going, what do you recommend? Like, as far as accommodations and stuff like that, since, you've been around there for a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. So as far as the accommodations go, the rooms are already sold out. They sell out the day after Maker Camp ends. So there are no rooms on that campus. They do have a couple sister hotels that the main resort manages where you can call up the Blackthorn and try and get one of those if they're not sold out. That I don't know yet. Or you could like on the campground, you can just camp with a tent. Like if you're okay camping, bring a tent and you can camp there. That I believe is included with what's called the Silver package. Or if you're going to go for the weekend, buy tickets for the weekend, it includes a campsite. It's also an RV park. So if you rent an RV or have an RV and can get it there, then you can call them up and reserve an RV spot and do an RV there. Or the town has a bunch of other like resorts or motels around. You're not going to find like a 5-star Hilton up there, but there's plenty of places to find up there. So Airbnb, something like that. There's a ton of accommodations. There's no reason to not go just because you don't like tent camping if that's not your thing. So, yeah,
Cool. That sounds like a good time.
it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Cannot
I don't
wait.
camp when I go, but only because I have a room and I keep reserving it every year, so I don't have to camp. But I hear a lot of the guys that camp, they all hang out by the fires at night, and like it's like a whole nother experience that I've never experienced. So that's a good way to go.
Yeah, this fat boy ain't doing no camping, but
Hey,
He's doing some glamping.
body
Yeah,
body
I'm too-
positivity, man. Body
I'm too-
positivity.
I'm too bougie for that. Ain't gonna happen.
Joe,
There
you
are-
so fancy.
I know a lot of people that go who don't want to camp, and they do have services up there, not through the Maker Camp or not through the Blackthorn Resort, but they have a lot of services up there. And you'd have to do some research on it, but you can call up a place. Like if you're traveling in from say Texas, you can call up a place and they will bring an RV to the campground, set it up, and leave the key at the front desk. So when you get there, it's like going into your own hotel room. It's just an
Ooh.
RV there.
Ooh,
So-
do that.
Yeah. Or you can rent one and then bring it there if you want, or rent a truck, or rent one of the driving ones, or rent a Sprinter van. You could do that too. But there's a lot of I forget the different types of things, but there's it's like an Airbnb but for RVs. And some of the RV services will offer delivery, and they'll drop it off. And it depends on which one you want, where you're getting it from, as to how much the drop off service is going to be. But I haven't heard anyone say it's a terrible price point. Like they're all like, yeah, I'll do it. And if you get a couple people in one, then it gets to be cheap. So
It'd be like
And
a
as-
2 or 3 week trip for me. 'Cause I'm in
Yeah.
Sacramento, so it'd be cross country. I'll just pick people up along the way.
There you go.
I highly recommend it though. It's
Stopping
a
at your
real-
house, your turn to drive.
It's a real good time. If you do stay at, there's a sister hotel called the Weldon House, and if you stay there, they do run a shuttle, like back and forth
Oh.
between where Maker Camp happens and that resort. I don't know if they do it for other resorts as well, but I'm sure if they sell out a huge block of a different resort, they might offer that as well. But I've never heard of that, but I'm always on campus, so I don't know.
Nice. The Wooden Mustache is in the chat, and he says there is a shuttle for certain off-premise motels too.
Yep.
So that's good. Nice.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. If you can get there, I highly recommend it. It's awesome.
So while you're there, while we're on this, and I'm just gonna take it away. Is
Go,
there
Joey, go.
is there a place
You the
to
man.
get like food and stuff while you're sitting there?
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. They have what's called like a dining hall there. So you can buy a meal plan for the dining hall, and they offer breakfast and dinner through the dining hall. So that's just like a prefix type thing. You go and you can like choose like chicken or beef or whatever whatever the offering is, and they serve that for breakfast and dinner. But there's also like right in the field where everything happens, there is a tiki bar there, what they call a tiki bar. So there's a bar there, and they offer any like bar type foods like right there at the thing. They have some food trucks. They were supposed to have some food trucks last year, but with the rain, they all canceled. But there's also a bar right at the main entrance. It's like a full on bar with a full kitchen, and you can go down there for lunch or dinner, whatever you want.
Oh,
So yeah, it's pretty good.
Sounds
And then-
like they got
So-
everything kind of corralled in there where you don't have to, I guess, leave.
I pull up I go Thursday. I pull up on Thursday, and on Monday morning I leave. Everything else is covered. I don't leave the premises for anything. If I was staying off site, maybe you'd have to leave to go back to wherever you're staying, but there's really no reason to leave. So what a lot of people do is if they fly into the nearest airport, they all carpool from the airport to Maker Camp, and once you're there, there's no reason to leave. So you don't need a car. Like you can rent one car for 4 people and be fine.
it sounds fun. I watch the Instagram posts every year, and I'm like, man, I wish there was one on this coast.
Dang it.
But dang it.
I will say, like I'm a huge proponent of the Maker Camp. I don't know if you guys have figured that out yet, but
Couldn't tell.
Tell me about it.
yeah,
I'm a little slow.
I don't think it could happen and be Maker Camp anywhere else. I think there's something special about where it is and the people that run that resort that they just make it happen. Like they have the resources that you need, right? And if there is something that's needed, there's a guy down the street who has it, right? So like, it's amazing. Like this year in the rain, like it was like the 100-year rain. Like they'd never seen that much rain before, and they were there like instantly with hay bale. Like how do you get hay bales? I mean, it's a resort,
Yeah.
and they came in with more hay bales than you needed to just kind of sop up the mud. When the water was backing up in the pavilion, they just brought their grounds crew over, as we call them, the Gator Boys. They come over and they start digging trenches to get water like out of the pavilion because that was the only place like a lot of people were hanging out. And they like if you did that at like I don't know, like a hotel where they had a field that you could do it, like they're not going to have those resources there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
The
just
good-
a special place, and they have power all throughout the fields. So like no matter where they put a tent, there's power ready for you. It's great.
It's just one of those places like the good old boys. It's just country folk, and they just get stuff done. When it needs to
Yeah.
get done, it gets done. And
Yeah.
it's some way or somehow it's going to happen. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Like we were
I got-
talking this week with Tony and I, and I think it's far enough away from the city that what happens there can happen, but it's also close enough to where that place can exist. Like it's, as Tony says, it's the Goldilocks distance away from New York City. So
So there's people that have never been to one before. They've never met their maker friends in person, or the people they look up to. Like the first time I went to a maker event, I was kind of scared to death to meet people, or I was afraid of how you just don't know how it's going to be. So can you speak to how it is there with everybody, how hospitable everybody is, and
it's
things like that?
It's like walking into like a family reunion is probably the best way to put it. Everyone's cool, and anyone who has an ego has to check it at the door. So
That's what I'm talking about.
It's pretty cool meeting everyone. It's just like you never know who you're standing next to. Like I don't know faces that well, right? Sometimes you turn around and there's so and so who's actually famous, not just famous in the maker community. Like the guy from what's that knife show? I don't know what it is.
Forge and Fire.
Yeah, that's the one. Jay Nielsen from that show, who I don't know who that is, but one day I was in line for something and he was just behind me, like I don't know who it is, but he doesn't care. Like everyone's just everyone. Everyone's just somebody. So
Yeah. That's
you
cool.
don't have to worry about meeting anyone. There's no like hierarchy, like, oh, we're bigger than you. That doesn't happen there. Some of the other events maybe, but not this one.
I was about to say that's good.
Yeah.
and then I've learned when to shut up.
We could
Yeah,
go
no-
down that route
No,
too.
no,
if
no,
you
no,
want.
no,
no.
I'm here for it. I'm here for
It
it.
is, well, sounds like you know what I know.
Are we talking?
No,
No,
Yeah.
no,
No.
You don't
no,
like
no,
it?
no, no. We're not gonna get you rolling. No.
Come on, it'll be fun. What'd you invite me on for?
So there's a question in the chat.
Good girl.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna go back to Maker Camp, and y'all also put on.
Well, that's good because I wanted to go back to it myself.
There we go. You also put on another event. You and Tony, Working Hands Podcast, do
Yes.
Maker Swap. Can
We
you
did.
tell us a little bit about it and how that works and what needs to be done to enter into that?
Sure. So the Maker Swap I came up with after the first one because you go to these events, right? And you're there and you're meeting everyone and you're talking to them, and everyone wants to know what you make, and you meet people and no one knows everyone, right? So it's not like I don't follow everyone. I follow a very select few. So you meet somebody, like I meet Joey, and I'm like, Joey, so what do you make? Well, the idea was so everyone can bring a little piece of what they make, and you put it in there, and it's a Maker Swap. So you put it in kind of like a drawing, and then you enter something and you get to go home with another maker's item. So with that, we just ask that everyone puts in their best work, whatever it is, make something that is based off of your skills, bring it, enter it in so that it's on display throughout the weekend. And then on Sunday, we do a drawing and you come and you get your, whatever the item that you're going to go home with. So it's like maker to maker. So it's fun. And the only real requirement is to bring your best. Like we don't want somebody just doing something real simple and throwing it in there. I call those lottery tickets. It happens every year. I'm doing my best to curb it, but people put in lottery tickets to go home with something else. There's knives that go in there like Damascus knives and toolboxes and crazy signs. Like one guy, Scott, made the Wesley Treat maker sign that he gave Jimmy DiResta. He made a miniature one, which it was still like 4 foot tall. It was huge and it was well done. Like there's like that level of stuff.
Yeah.
I just read the comments. I apologize. And then there's all sorts, like any level of things. Like there's pottery people that enter. There's whatever your skill set is. Just bring your best and bring whatever your skill set is. Whatever level skill you're at, we don't care, but just bring the best. If you're obviously an accomplished maker and you bring a easy item that would be considered easy, it's just a bad look for you. So. But that's it. That's the only requirement. I think this year I'm going to try and curb the Maker Camp logo because we get a lot of Maker Camp logos, like a lot. Everyone likes to make that Maker Camp logo, and People have been doing it for years, and they put something in, and every year they go home with another Maker Camp logo.
I
So-
got 3 of those.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people have gotten through, and like we all love the Maker Camp, right? And anyone who knows what the swap is or participates in the swap pretty much loves Maker Camp. So that's cool and all, but like, I don't know. How many Maker Camp signs do you want in your house, or in your shop? That said, I'm looking around. I got like 20 here, but I'm kind of a weirdo, But yeah, so
I could see that going bad doing like a white elephant Maker Camp swap.
well, the first year we did it, we thought it would be like 20 people would participate, right? Because that was 3 years ago. And I don't have a big following now. I had a even lesser following then. And like, I just asked Austin, I was like, hey man, I'm thinking about doing this. Can we do it there? He's like, yeah, sure. What do you need? I said, I don't know, picnic table, and just like, give me some place where I could put everything, whether it be like a locker or something. And turns out we needed a trailer. We had over 100 items, and it like blew up. And then, yeah, it's a big deal. Like this year, people were bringing like what is that called? Where you do the draw knife? Not a sawhorse, shave horse. Like
horse, yeah.
somebody entered a shave horse that they made. Like this is some crazy. Like we took up almost a whole 20 by 20 tent this year of items. Like there's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot that happens.
That's cool. So bring your A game. Anybody out there?
Yeah,
gonna
don't
go
mess
do it?
around.
Yeah, bring your A
Bring
game.
your A game.
Yeah, or just listen to the Working Hands podcast when it gets closer, and we'll go over all the rules.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.